There's a quote by Christopher McCandless that says, "Happiness is only real when shared." Truthfully, I never used to understand this. I used to believe that my happiest moments were when I would pack my suitcase and jet off to some faraway country by myself. When it's just me, I could choose how I wanted to interact with the world and others, choosing exactly which adventure I wanted to embark on that day. When it was just me, it felt easy. But it wasn't until a few years ago that I realized all of my solo adventures slowly disconnected me from the people I would leave back home. I would share stories of my adventures, and though my friends and family would be excited for me, they could only appreciate my stories on a surface level, specifically because they didn't experience those impactful moments alongside me. It started to feel rather isolating, and it started to feel like I can never be fully understood as a person because I didn't have anyone to share my deepest memories with. That's when thru-hiking came into my life and changed everything. I started going on these grand hiking adventures with my dad. We would hike days on end with each other, summiting peaks, setting up camp, and reflecting on our days together. I shared some of my biggest accomplishments with my dad through doing something that has come to define a large part of who I am: hiking. This is when I realized that happiness is truly only real when shared.
Something else.
Amazing.
Hey, I'm Kendra, and these are my parents, Ken and Lisa. In June of 2022, the three of us hiked the Tour du Mont Blanc. I'm not sure how many 25-year-olds would willingly choose to be secluded in the mountains with their parents for 10 days, but I was over the moon about a chance to do something I love alongside them. The TMB is a 170-kilometer trail that loops around Mont Blanc. The trail passes through 3 different countries: France, Italy, and Switzerland. It showcases some of Europe's most magnificent landscapes, giving hikers constant views of snow-capped mountains and melting glaciers. It weaves through quaint mountain towns, leads hikers past countless refugios, over and around gushing rivers, and through farmland. Each day consisted of a massive climb, followed by a knee-busting descent. Over the entire trail, hikers climb and descend over 35,000 feet, which is actually more than if you were to trek up Everest.
You see that? Hey, honey, look. We're going right up there.
It's a steep and demanding trail that challenges even the most experienced hikers. Though it is tough, there is ample opportunity to rest and revel in your daily accomplishments because of the refugios and hotels that line the trail. I was commonly motivated to push through a tough morning ascent, specifically because I knew there would be a hot cappuccino waiting for me at the top.
What a treat.
Thank you. Amazing.
Starting the TMB felt like a dream come true. After months of planning, we were finally ready to step foot on trail. France was like a beautiful beginning. Like many beginnings in life, whether it be a new relationship or the beginning of a new school year, everything felt fresh and possible. Everything was also coated in a layer of nervousness and cautious excitement. To be honest, the beauty of a new beginning wore off real fast, within the first 5 hours to be exact. To make a long story short, we were caught in the most terrifying thunderstorm I had ever experienced. As we made it to the very top of our first mountain, the storm hit. The flash of lightning and sound of thunder was instantaneous. The thunder was almost deafening and we were scared. We attempted to pick up our pace, but the faster we went, the more dangerous it became. The trail turned into a steep slip and slide. We eventually made it down the mountain and entered into the first refugio along the trail. We opened the heavy wooden door and everyone's eyes turned to us. We were covered in mud and soaked to the bone. Without any words exchanged, everyone who was huddled around the wood stove stood up and made way for us to sit around the warm fire. Our first 5 hours on trail beat us down and honestly forced us to contemplate just how far we could push that day. Soon after, the rain lifted and we made our way back onto the trail. We were soggy, uncomfortable, and our spirits were low. But the clouds finally parted, and with the warmth of the sun lifting our attitudes, we pressed on towards our intended destination.
Down below, yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. Oh yeah. They're hanging. They go back. Okay. Getting better at this.
Everything's a little tight and a little heavy. We're good. 20 minutes to go.
Woo!
I think, maybe a half an hour.
Way I
Right?
walk. Maybe a half hour.
Half an hour. We can do this. Let's go.
And we're setting up camp.
A few hours later, we made it. The campsite we came across was an absolute godsend. Nestled in the bottom of a valley, surrounded by the mountains and next to a frigid glacial river, we felt a little pocket of peace. I knew if we could make it through everything we had that day, we could make it through anything else the TMB might throw at us.
'Cause I'm always heading your way, and I know exactly what I'm looking for. And as we go, I'll keep running till I can no more. You'll always be the one I want at midnight. You'll always steal my breath away. Yeah. You'll always be my heart, my life. It's the coldest hand.
As if we didn't build enough character from the first comically horrific day on the TMB, the trail still had a lot to teach us. Mom's knees were shot. What started as a little niggle in my mom's knees turned out to be a big issue. Seriously, the descents were no joke. She would waddle her way for hours down long descents, pushing through and attempting to keep a positive attitude, though an occasional wince signaled just how much pain she was in. Seeing how committed my mom was to completing the TMB made me feel so incredibly proud.
And I will guarantee you're never lost alone the crowd with me. Never lost.
Knees aside, we were all blown away by what we were seeing and experiencing along the trail. It's hard to put into words just how beautiful the TMB was. We were constantly in awe by the mountains and glaciers that surrounded us, as well as the rich culture that characterized the trail.
It's a furthest sun, the gun done for love. It's a pulse and shove. It's the sharpest cry. The hit goes but why? Where the desperate lie. Far from ever feeling lost with me. I'll push you back towards the land and sea. They're going down for love, and love is free. Stick with me and I will get.
Day 3 and hiking by myself this morning because Mom has some knee issues, just like everybody else on this trail right now. So her and Dad are gonna take the bus to one of the refugios that I'm walking to. It's like 5 kilometers away. But this is the first time I've ever hiked a trail that I started with Dad without Dad. So it's kind of weird, but I'm excited to be alone and see how far and fast I can get, so. Okay, so having to make my own little trail here, crossing a river, hopefully to the other side, because look at all of this snow that came down. It's covering the trail. This is actually so freaking cool. I'm having one of those moments right now where I'm just like super thankful for everything in life and being here. Like, look at this.
Anywhere you go, I see. Even in the autumn breeze, when the trees are shaking off their leaves, you'll never last among the crowd with me.
Entering into Italy was like taking the training wheels off. 3 days in, we had a realistic idea of what was to lie ahead. Yes, the climbs and descents would be hard, but there would never be a lack of magnificent views that rewarded us for our efforts. After entering Italy, we soon made it to our first scheduled refugio, Refugio Elisabetta. We stayed in a dorm, crammed into an attic that had beds lined up side by side. We shared this space with other hikers, which was a rather rich experience. People from all around the world stayed under one roof, all with the same burning desire to experience the wonder of the TMB. We shared meals with a couple from Ukraine, swapped stories with a lifelong adventurer from the UK, and shared drinks with the Italian staff. We shared a little slice of paradise with people from all corners of the world, tucked away in the Italian mountains and away from the rest of life. After spending an eventful night at Refugio Elisabetta, we woke up with giddy anticipation, knowing that at the end of the day, we'd be in Courmayeur, a quaint little Italian town where our hotel was located. Mom and Dad decided to take an easier route into town to save Mom's knees, though I still decided to take the official high route. I left the Refugio alone and trudged up the steep mountain towards the summit, only able to focus on putting one foot in front of the other. With my head down and determined to make it to the top in decent time, I had time to reflect on my life spent on the trails. I'm always the best and happiest version of myself with a pack on my back, trekking poles in hand, and breathing in the fresh air. I feel completely myself when I'm on the trails. It's a version of myself that I wished I could translate into my everyday life, but it always seemed impossible because life on trail is so distinct to life in the real world, especially when the people you love most and surround yourself with haven't experienced something like a long-distance hike. Deep in thought, I almost didn't realize that I made it to the top. I finally lifted my gaze to what was around me, and I was shocked. It was perhaps the most beautiful place I had ever been in my life. At that moment, I wished Mom and Dad were there next to me because it was one of those rare moments in life where everything felt so grand and I felt so small. A truly humbling life experience. I sat in the grass looking out at what I had just accomplished and just laughed. Life didn't seem real, and I felt so completely alive. A handful of hours and multiple painful descents later, I arrived in Courmayeur, where I met up with Mom and Dad. We made it to our hotel and let out a collective sigh of relief. 4 days in, and we were rewarded with a bed, incredible food, and an opportunity to shower and re-energize ourselves for the next coming days.
Father, forgive me for I've sinned. I've taken some cheese and meat from the breakfast buffet for the trip for lunch. For that I'm sorry.
I've heard 1,000 Hail Marys, you must say.
Sorry, my father.
Our pocket of bliss in Courmayeur was snatched away by another harrowing hike on the trail the following day. The morning was beautiful, despite being rather overcast. We took our time with the morning ascent, taking in the decent conditions before the inevitable rain that we would experience later on. When the storm finally hit, the rain came down harder, the temperature was colder, and we felt even more desperate than day one. We thankfully came across another refugio at the top when the rain started to come down in buckets. We decided to take some time to warm up and regroup over a cup of hot chocolate.
What? After this trip, I'm going on a most luxurious vacation anyone can go on. And I'm gonna be pampered. I can't even explain to you how I'm gonna pamper myself after this trip.
It's really not that bad.
It's tough, Kendra.
You look like you're about to cry.
I am. Do a little tear every now and again, but you know. I'm making it.
And she did. Mom cried right after I turned off the camera. Things were not good, and we had to seriously reevaluate our itinerary for the day.
It's so rainy today. This is terrible. This is bad. This is actually real shitty.
After a lot of consideration, we decided to cut the hike short and spend another night in Courmayeur. This was definitely the best choice we could have made as a group, and we are happy with choosing to nix camping during a thunderstorm. Switzerland felt like a fresh chapter. We set aside our rainy day woes from Italy and trekked up the mountain into Switzerland with a fresh attitude. And boy, was Switzerland beautiful.
Where the river takes us far away from home. Time to ponder in the fields around me, where there's nothing but the breeze and the great unknown. Leave your worries and your suitcase. All you don't need, nothing but you. So don't throw your hopes down a wishing well. It's your heart's desire carry you. Come and sail with me to the open ocean, where you don't have to dream because there's you. Nothing around us, just flames in the fire. And through the night they burn like me for you. Covered in wonder, sweet in the silence. Oh, we'll keep running, we'll keep running. Leave your worries and just
Though Mom crushed the section leading into Switzerland, she needed a few days to rest her knees, so Dad joined her. I thought I'd be hiking by myself for the next few days, which I was truly excited for. Though to my surprise, I had some company. Meet Arkansas. Well, his real name is Barrett, but we liked to call him Arkansas. Arkansas is from, well, Arkansas. To me, he seemed like a very stereotypical American from the South, and I loved that. He had a thick country accent, a deep love for the Ozarks, and his uncle was even a cowboy. He left his responsibilities in life back home to travel around Europe for a month, unsure what his next move would be once he arrived back home. A lifestyle that I deeply resonated with, and I think that's why we connected so quickly. Arkansas and I hiked and camped the next few days together, which was a real treat. As we hiked, we shared about our lives, the places we've traveled to, what we're hoping to do with our futures, and so many other things. Hiking with Arkansas gave me an added boost to push through the harder parts and a jolt of excitement that came from forming a new friendship with someone that I felt like I had known forever. Hiking with Arkansas was a breath of fresh air, a new chapter in our TMB story, a friendship that I was happy to have formed. Though, to be honest, despite having Arkansas's company, I missed having Mom and Dad with me. I missed watching Dad run across peaks and staring in awe at each glacier we passed by. I missed Mom's excitement for stopping for a midday glass of wine at a refugio and seeing her proud of what she accomplished that day. I also missed Mom classically yelling at Dad when she thought he was doing something dangerous and irresponsible. I wished they could have experienced the things I was doing and seeing while I was hiking without them, though I knew that they would be able to resonate with my stories once we reunited at the end of each day. Knowing that they could deeply understand what I was sharing with them helped me feel a deep sense of happiness. I wasn't alone, despite being without them. Mom rested up and joined me once again on trail with Dad as we walked back into France. I was stoked to have them by my side again. The trio was reunited and I couldn't have been happier.
This is the last night.
Though Mom's time on trail was short-lived, her knees only got worse and she had to finally call it quits. However, this did work out to our advantage. Since I was to hike alone, I decided to combine our last 2 intended days into one.
This is the last day. I'm combining the last 2 days into one day, so it's gonna be a long day. But I'm also hiking it by myself again, so that's great. Just a solo journey.
Yeah, but you've met all sorts of dudes on the trail you can hike with. Swedish guy, Arkansas, all sorts of people. It's crap. You're leaving us alone.
But we still get to see the beauty, whether we're taking the bus or the train. 'Cause my knees are not going to do it today.
Screw you guys.
So, all the best, Kendra.
Yeah, I just need a toilet. Forever. Like 50 freaking people trying to go to the washroom, and I'm nowhere to go. I'll figure it out.
Oh boy.
I knew I was fast and I knew I had the stamina to push for a long day, and I was beyond ready for the challenge. Little did I know what I was in for that day. The day started off beautifully. I hiked with Arkansas for the first little bit before I left him in the dust at the bottom of the mountain. Sorry, buddy. I was zooming and pushing towards the finish line for 4 p.m. I felt fresh and I felt alive. The day felt like everything was falling into place, and I was in the best mood I had ever been on trail.
That never fades. I know why I'm alone. Mistakes that I've made.
But then I ran out of water, and then I went off trail and got lost a few times. I had no idea that over the next 24 kilometers, there wasn't any water. And to top it off, I had passed all the refugios early in the morning and didn't come across another one until late afternoon. So now I was thirsty and hungry. Safe to say, my good mood switched rather quickly. I was overheating and was no longer sweating because of how dehydrated I was. Going up my second mountain of the day was a slog. I remember looking over my right shoulder at the steep drop that was just next to me, and I remember thinking, if I were to pass out right now, I'd be dead. Don't pass out. I kept pushing forwards, slowly, praying that I wouldn't succumb to heat stroke. I was beyond the point of exhaustion, though I felt a massive jolt of energy when I ascended the peak and saw a lake on the other side of the mountain.
Holy shit, I see water. Guys, I could honestly almost cry. I've been without water for like 3 hours and there's been no water sources today. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited.
I let out a cheer and ran down the trail as fast as I could. I ran for about 10 minutes until I came across an intersection, realizing that the trail I needed to stay on didn't take me anywhere close to the lake.
It has not been a good day. I'm so freaking thirsty.
Thankfully, just 30 minutes later, I finally came across a refugio. I had never felt so relieved in my life. I instantly walked inside and ordered a Coke, a jug of water, and a salad, which was definitely the only kind of food I could stomach at that point because of how sick I felt from the heat.
So I'm looking for Kendra, because she is up there and beyond. She hiked all day and we took the train here. So I'm gonna see if she's okay. Gonna run up and catch up with her. Hopefully we don't miss each other. So, bon voyage.
I swung my pack onto my back, and after taking my first few steps, I saw a man in a red Canada tank top running up the other side of the mountain. It was Dad. He had run an hour and a half up the mountain, starting from the finish point in Laouche to come find me. It's hard to express what I felt in that moment. My heart could have burst out of sheer thankfulness. I felt like a child getting giddy over just seeing my dad and knowing that I wasn't alone anymore. He stopped in at the refugio to fuel up while I continued down the trail, knowing that he'd catch me soon after. Dad met up with me about an hour later and we began running together. As we were running and chit-chatting our way down the mountain, my ankle twisted and snap! I was on the ground. I thought I had broken my ankle. I was sobbing at this point. I wasn't entirely crying because of the pain, but I was mostly crying out of pure exhaustion, frustration for the day's obstacles, and a deep sadness that our time on the TMB was coming to an end. I stood up and was barely able to put weight on my ankle.
Well, that's why we're leaving your shoe on. The tears are real. It's been a long day for Kendra alone. Oh, continues out. So many times get off trail, poor markings. When I finally found her, so tired.
I'm exhausted.
Let's get going, okay? You wanna try and walk?
Yeah.
We got 250 meters to go. She's determined to make it with pack, and the entire trip won't let me take it. So, she's a gunner.
My 4 p.m. finish turned into a 6:30 finish. We rounded the corner into town where Mom was waiting for us. Just seeing her made me cry again. And again, I was crying out of exhaustion, sadness, but also an immense thankfulness that I was still crossing the finish line with my parents. That was our goal from the start, and we were sticking to it.
Oh, Kendra, your knee.
Rolled her ankle.
Oh, shit.
Hi, we're almost there.
No kidding. And I thought I wanted to walk with you guys up there, so that's why I sat here.
Yeah.
Nice.
Gary?
Yeah, I did.
All right.
Good.
Couple of ways to go, hey?
Yeah, okay.
I could see the arch, signaling that we were almost at the end. The past 10 days on the TMB flashed through my mind, and I felt emotional for everything we had experienced and overcome as a crew. From busted knees, getting lost, surviving terrifying thunderstorms, rerouting, and sprained ankles, we did our best and pushed through to the very end.
It's the end.
We did it.
Yep.
Oh.
Mommy!
Oh.
Done.
Woohoo! She did it. We did it.
I'm tired.
for the road all my life.
I learned so much from my parents over the span of 10 days on the TMB. Mom taught me the important lessons about resilience and embracing discomfort. Mom traded her fancy $5 lattes and hair appointments for a 10-day adventure in the mountains. She's never done backcountry camping, ate a dehydrated meal out of a bag, or filtered her own drinking water prior to this adventure. She's never had to wear the same sweaty clothes for multiple days at a time or carry her life's essentials on her back before. This trip was the epitome of living past Mom's comfort zone, and she gave the TMB everything she had. Dad taught me the importance of teamwork. With Mom there, he reflected new levels of selflessness and care. When the going got tough, my dad was always there for us. When Mom was in pain, he carried most of her gear to alleviate the amount of weight she had to carry. His pack was bulging from how much extra gear he had to haul. But just like Mom, he never complained. When I sprained my ankle in the last hours of the entire trek, he sat with me in the dirt and stayed next to me until I had no tears left to cry. On the days I hiked solo, Dad carried my tent ahead and had camp set up by the time I arrived. He reminded me of what it means to be a team, caring for one another, being okay with changing expectations and plans, and making the best of every situation that comes our way.
What's up, girls?
I also learned a lot from the people we met along the way. I learned a valuable lesson in intentionally choosing to share experiences with others. We met people from all corners of the world, all with different stories and different reasons for hiking the trail, though we were all bonded by an experience we are partaking in together. Like, how beautiful is that? I had the privilege of meeting people I never normally would, and it was made even sweeter that our one connection was through a shared interest in hiking. Though I may never see any of these people again, I'm beyond thankful for the part they played in our TMB story. I know there are people in different parts of the world who I will forever be connected to because of this shared experience. So, is happiness truly only real when shared? In my experience, yeah. Rather than hiking the TMB myself and risk losing certain memories over time, I now have a handful of people I can reminisce with. When I feel the inevitable pits of sadness that comes from a grand adventure coming to an end, I know that Mom and Dad can lend a listening ear and intimately understand where I'm coming from. When happiness is a shared experience, life feels full, life feels rich, life feels connected. Memories live on with several people, and happiness is multiplied. And for that, I'm forever grateful. To everyone we met along the TMB, thank you. Thank you for being a part of our story. And to Mom and Dad, I love you both. Thank you for sharing in my happiness.